We are, yeah.
Okay, call the meeting to order, 5:35. Announcements, save the date, fall special town meeting on Monday, November 3rd. Doors open at 6:30, correct? Meeting starts at 7. We already have the planning board hearing. Call for volunteers, as always, on the volunteer tab on the home page of the town website. Item A is public comment. Nobody here, so we'll pass that over. Angus, did you have updates?
I didn't, but I know, I've been sending you guys various email updates, so if there's anything you've seen in your inbox that you wanna put on the table for discussion, I'm happy to discuss that. I will mention, I guess, briefly, the meeting Chris and I attended yesterday. This will be on next week's agenda for formal consideration, but there was a Whittier Tech regional meeting yesterday. I think it was very productive. It might have been one of the best meetings we've had.
One of the best meetings.
Yeah, no, it was.
What do you attribute that to?
Well, I think, with the emails over the last month on the need for this working group to formalize and have some standing, especially with regard to the regional agreement, that clearly, that was a shared opinion, and that it came across. And so the superintendent had met with their attorney in the last 2 weeks or so, and had set out a number of specific questions, exactly the right questions. So she was able to provide at yesterday's meeting their attorney's response, which basically sets out a couple of key things. The regional agreement, if amendments are to be proposed, there's 2 ways that can happen, but the most practical way is that the school committee refers them to the communities. The regional agreement also provides that any of their communities can initiate regional agreements, but that's with 5% of their population. So obviously that's possible, but not practical. So in practical terms, the school committee, once there is a set of hopefully consensus amendments, which we do expect would be a wholesale rewrite, that would be initiated by the school committee, and this regional agreement advisory committee is going to be appointed by the school committee and a subset of that committee. It will be a public body subject to all the open meeting law. So what we expect will happen is we'll hear from the superintendent in the near term with an invitation for us and the other 10 communities to designate a voting member and a backup member to vote in the absence of the voting member. The composition of the group is expected to be 15, with 1 representative from each of the cities and towns, 4 members of the school committee. The WHAB article from earlier this week said that they would be non-voting members. I don't know if that's official or not. That didn't really come up yesterday.
And how will they be chosen, the members of the school committee?
She says she's looking for volunteers from the school committee, and that so far there's only 1 member who's expressed interest. So, but basically that I think is gonna help to formalize this regional agreement process, and then for whomever's involved with that, there's gonna be a lot of work to get to the specifics. But I think we had, some good discussion yesterday about how we can hopefully get down to the kind of core policy issues as quickly as possible, coming up with ideally a template for a lot of the framework of it that would, that should be non-controversial, so that we can get to the apportionment method of appointment and all of the things that we know are going to be kind of the things that will need a lot of discussion.
Yeah. That's good. It's got its own acronym now. Okay. Anything else?
The Page Pipe State crosswalk is, they're back out there. You may have noticed they're back at work, so that's good. We had the pre-bid meeting on Tuesday for the pickleball invitation for bid, and we had 3 prospective vendors there in person. And I didn't even count the number of people who've taken out the invitation for bid, but it was an entire page list in a spreadsheet, so I think it's gotta be 25 companies. But the pre-bid was optional, we didn't make it required, and we are gonna be issuing later tonight, actually, an addendum that addresses all of the questions. Kate prepared that coming out of Tuesday's meeting, and then Butch and Rich Williams and I each, had our input, and that was finalized just in the last hour or so. So she's gonna post that and circulate that tonight. There were a lot of good questions, but we're gonna address them.
Great. So there's that many companies that focus on pickleball, or are these just essentially paving companies?
There's both. There were definitely names on the list that you could tell by the name of the company are sport court type companies, and there are others that are probably general contractors.
All right, action items. So this item's been revised. Did you both get the email from Rebecca? That we're not gonna discuss Stewart specifically, his request tonight. It turns out that he needed ConCom approval as well, because Solomon Park is owned by or managed by the ConCom. So, since we have not approved the form, the application, I thought we could do that tonight and complete it for the next meeting on the 16th. And then ConCom meets the 20th. So, any thoughts about this form? This is taken from the state landowner permission form, some that Angus provided from Hamden, as well as a couple towns in Massachusetts had similar website. Did I miss anything that we want to see in there?
In the future, this is like a test run with Stewart on this parcel.
Not really, it's just their grandfather in it.
But this is not to allow it on other parcels.
No, this is just specifically for him, but if we're gonna give him permission, I thought we should have the, at least the outline of.
Right, my comment would be is if we're doing it elsewhere on other parcels, we talked about signage being placed to notify that doesn't occur here.
No. So what I envision happening is the application, the hunter would fill this out, and then the select board reviewed it and attached the page showing the map that the working group prepared.
Yeah.
And then, we have to, before we did that, we have to decide on signage and anything else. So.
For this one, I understand we don't need it.
Right.
But if this is the template, there should be something in this that references signage requirement. And we can waive it for this one, obviously.
So this would be a requirement of, not the hunter, this is a town.
Why should the town be posting the signs? I think it should be the obligation of the hunter doing it. Right?
It seems to me like the town would be responsible, it's their property, and the town is deciding we're gonna allow hunting, on this property.
Costs incurred then, where does that come from?
But I think, are we talking about kind of laminated like paper sign, because it's just for that season, that wouldn't be a permanent sign.
No, what I'm saying, somebody's gotta get out there and locate a bunch of trees every whatever, 50 feet or whatever apart, I don't know. How far, just to let other people know. So I'm saying, I think this form, I understand Stewart does, we're not expecting that this time. But if this is gonna be the form we're gonna adopt, it should have mention of signage requirements.
So if 5 people apply to hunt on a certain parcel, you're saying, like, which one is supposed to put signage up? Yeah.
So they don't fight with hunt on my part, but it's not a good situation either, shooting at each other,
Oh, we're not shooting.
Oh, well. Still don't want to take an arrow through the heart.
Okay, so signage, we still have to work out. Yeah, I mean, there's other details. I just want to know if this has everything that we would want to see from the hunter. In terms of information, documentation of their experience, understand.
Should take Ross, you run the committee.
No, I actually wasn't on that.
Rick Parker was.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought you were on the hunting.
no, it wasn't.
Oh,
But I mean, I read through it, it seems fine to me, it's fairly simplistic, not much more complicated, it's good, and, yeah.
I already revised it, just to get something in place for,
Yeah.
this season. Any thoughts, Agnes?
A couple of things, let's see, so the landowner liability, I wanna just, I guess how, it's a lot shorter than what we do for indemnifications for like volunteers working on town property, but if,
This came from the state website.
okay,
So I don't
so,
know if municipalities should have additional, but this is what they have on their hunter permission card.
okay, yeah, I mean, I like that it cites the MGL, making it clear that, yeah, the town's not liable, but, the indemnification form, it's still one page, but it's more lengthy, so, it'd just be good to make sure that, whatever they're signing is appropriate, kind of, liability protection. My other, suggestion would be, I see it has, dates requested, and I'm assuming that someone would put in like the whole season. One thing, what we did up in Maine was, on the day that they were gonna be out there, we would ask them to notify the public safety department that morning or a day ahead of time. Just so if people, other people see a car parked out there, or they see someone in the forest with a bow and arrow, that if they call public safety and say, oh my gosh, there's someone with a bow and arrow, they can say, oh yeah, Mr. So-and-so is totally in the clear to be out there today. So just.
So like the day of?
Or the day before,
So like when you get a burn permit.
yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a good preemptive thing, and it's not a big lift at all for anyone.
No, I think it's a good thing. I think people have that mindset.
Well, I would say it's far.
We just have, we're not posted until 6, so we're just doing some of our business.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, what would you like us to say?
Oh, you can make yourselves comfortable, it's public meeting.
Like right
Yeah, yeah.
Did you?
I was thinking about you the other night when I was going through the chicken display at the Castfield Fair. I was like, look at the Rhode Island Reds and how.
See, you're saying it looks like a chicken?
No, you're just a chicken expert.
All right, anything else on that?
You need a motion?
We're not, so if you guys are all right with this as a start, we can always revise it next year, but I'll have Stuart fill it out and then discuss it at the next meeting.
The other thing I just thought of that might be not a bad thing is if the hunter were to sign copy of the permission form, but on their dash.
They're supposed to keep it with them, but maybe we could also have them leave it in the car, that's good,
Just in case
yeah,
to head off calls to the.
yeah.
And on this, right at the top, the 30 days prior to the dates, you might wanna put in less waived by the board, that way, we don't create a pickle for.
Yeah.
The imminent situation.
Is the town clerk the appropriate office?
I would say it's more the town manager's office, cause I think it's gonna be in practice Rebecca,
Yeah.
and administering this.
Okay, anything else? All right. Item B is discussion of the planning board report and recommendations if available, just follow up on the public hearing. Are you good? Yeah. So did you email the language?
Oh, I think I did, yeah, I did, yep,
Is that appropriate under this agenda item or?
yeah, definitely, yeah.
Okay.
So I think all three of you were at the planning board hearing the other night, but this will be helpful for the FinCom members who weren't. I know a number of you were as well. But really the only, so the planning board's recommendation was favorable, subject to changing the language, clarifying the language in the affordable housing section to make it clear that while the permit granting authority of the planning board couldn't require more than 10% of the units to be affordable, We want to make sure the bylaw is very clear that a proponent, a developer could propose a higher level of affordability. So while that specific language wasn't hashed out on Tuesday night, the spirit of their intent was clear. I think that's fully aligned with what this board would want to see as well. So we did ask Ian Burns to prepare draft language. He sent that around just in the last hour or so. So I emailed that around to you. I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at it, but it's basically striking the word
Maximum.
maximum and adding a sentence, which maybe Chris, if you have it right
Okay,
there.
right here, yeah. The sentence he adds at the end of the paragraph, 8.4.9.2. Nothing in this bylaw shall preclude the developer from providing additional affordable units or greater affordability or both than the minimum requirements.
That's good.
I think so too.
Rather than he strikes the words a maximum of 10%. How about saying at least 10% of the units?
That is language that we know the state has not approved. Because the use of at least could be read to suggest that the town could require more, which it can. Well, one of the things that's odd about this program, and Robin Stein has mentioned this before, and she said it again after the hearing the other night when I was out in the hallway with her and Ian, is they've seen the guidance from the state change over the last couple of years. So there are things that Robin has seen the state not allow, which Ian has said, oh, they did allow it for these other towns. So it seems like what's happened is both the state's been trying to kind of figure this out as they go along, for one thing, but it also seems that they started perhaps very strict and have gotten a bit more permissive with some things because they want to see cities and towns adopt the bylaws. So they've tried to not be unreasonable about it. But Robin had told us that word, the use of at least, she has seen instances where the state has not allowed that. Ian has seen instances where they have allowed it. This specific language that he has recommended was in the Rowley MBTA district and has been approved.
And that was recent.
Yeah, they just voted in the spring.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good indication.
Yeah, but the part that we're putting it on, your secondary objective is to increase the opportunity for more affordable if possible. So
Mhm.
I won't argue too much, but I think it would have been wise to have at least in there.
Well, we can certainly run it up the flagpole with HLP. You're not gonna be asked to sign the warrant until, or you'll be asked a week from tonight to vote the warrant. So we can certainly send HLC a note and see if they would agree to at least.
I would prefer to do, I think it sends a clear intent of what we would have for expectations, so I think that you guys don't object.
Yeah, as long as it passes, I'm gonna have the.
If they say no, then we'll.
Yeah, well, the question is just whether we'll get a response in the meeting.
I think we will. I mean, we're on a very, very short list of communities that haven't yet voted it.
Yeah.
And we've found HLC has been pretty quick to come to around.
Any other follow-up from Tuesday night?
Not on the MBTA.
Yeah, I was surprised that how few people were there, which I think is probably a good sign that we've kind of flooded the zone and people are okay with where we are.
It's a negative, but I would prefer.
I think that's the case. I mean, we've had two very well attended public meetings, end of July and end of August. So I think people are content with where we're at. That's how I'm choosing to interpret it.
Just for the FinCom who might not have been there, one thing I found most curious, there was two people online who remained anonymous, who both sent in comments and questions that they would prefer we threw naps into the mix again and had two options. We decided as a planning, and I said at the meeting, I think it could have been very troublesome because it would have been disrespectful to the voters and the abutters. It was very clear that it failed last time, and it could have just brought a different dynamic to the meeting and bring the people who were opposed to revisiting naps would also then be opposed potentially to this one. So I think it's the right way to go rather than two choices. I think it might have been messy. But a couple of people online thought we should still be looking at naps.
But we
Which-
don't know who they were, I mean,
Well, the comments were there, so I'm just saying
Yeah.
address them.
I don't think we should use chat in a public hearing.
No,
I
we,
thought you asked him.
I
Yeah, okay.
have given that advice before, yeah.
And then
So-
further is Naps is sold to John Sakis and he's moving forward with a project. So that might even throw a wrench into his plans if you said, hey, why don't we visit, so.
All right. So next step is at our next meeting, we'll have a recommendation from the planning board. Yeah. So-
Yeah, they are gonna, they said they were gonna post a meeting Tuesday morning, I assume they've already posted that. Did they? post
Yes,
any
I
kind of-
did see.
Okay, so they're gonna, have in front of them, I guess, the language of, recommendation that they'd like to see appear in the FinCom booklet, so. They wanted to, meet as a board to go over that.
All right, that brings us to item C, which is the joint meeting with FinCom, so we have 5 minutes to.
Yeah, let's take a 4-minute recess to reconfigure the tables. It's been such a busy day. I didn't even have lunch till about half an hour ago, so it's been that kind of day.
That was
Yep.
4 minutes, ready to go.
I thought you thought lunch, I just thought. So.
I think that's it, without.
So I get my neighbor here.
Do you guys prefer to sit kind of like this, or do you want it out here? Reference.
The other table, no.
Yep. This.
Yeah.
Yeah. Input parliamentarian, the FinCom. That's not I've heard.
Where's my gavel? Where's my gavel?
Rob anointed him that one.
They both from chair, yeah.
Imagine our month after. Oh, yeah, I see it there. I think I know you, I know, press these here.
Oh, yeah, and Corinne will be virtual too, she said.
Yeah. Well, very good. But. See how this is. This is.
That's like you're sitting on.
Chairs are kind of low,
You know, my rep.
I have a question now.
Have 2 minutes. So, I guess we can use the best way to just go through the order.
It's really up to you. Obviously, we have, one article where the proponents are present, so I don't know if you want to take that out of order, out of respect for people's time.
Are you expecting more people, Fred?
Yeah, I mean, I invited the board. I know a couple of people would be, probably be on remotely, but I would expect we certainly have a few people. It'd be great if we could, go early.
But not first.
Oh, no, first is okay. That's fine. Is it quite 6 yet? Let's see.
5:50 minutes.
Yeah, I imagine that they'll be on in the next 2 minutes, so that's just fine.
Dennis, any thoughts about how to proceed other than this first group? You wanna just take them in order?
Whatever, yeah, that sounds good.
So there's a handful that FinCom's already voted on, so perhaps we could take those up on 16. So they're not sitting there while we deliberate, right? I mean, they're quick, right?
Yeah, we're taking them up after the FinCom, because I think if you, my hope is that by the end of tonight, you would have voted everything except for Article 3, where there's still some questions. I'll explain where we are with that, but because obviously the booklet's gotta be published, so the sooner I have all the recommendations, that's helpful to get the booklet together.
And what time is Tim planning to attend?
I told him it would be any time between, probably 7:30 and 8. It could be later. I said I'll text him and He's our.
Okay, great. All right. The meeting has already been called to order.
But they need to
I-
reconvene, yeah.
I need to,
We have to call, we both have to call joint meeting order.
okay. I would call the joint meeting of the select board and FinCom to order at 6 o'clock.
Here, I'm parliamentary, here.
Are all members present of the five?
Yes,
yes.
No roll.
Guys, wanna do the same? With FinCom?
I thought you did,
No,
so
I'm just speaking for the select board.
I would like to call the FinCom meeting to order. Here, second.
All right. Fred, I just, if you have people coming, I don't wanna get started and have them not here, then. Your call,
Well,
you're the chair. so-
We've got three of us here and Paul is on,
All right,
and I know that at least three people won't be here, so.
okay,
The only one is Corinne, but I know she's gonna have to join remotely. I think she's got something going on. So I think we can get started. I would move, yeah, absolutely.
okay, so this is, item 6, number 6, which is not really the final number, but, in the packet. So it's a study for improvements to library services. Fred, do you want to give an overview on it?
Sure.
Fred Shinani is the chair of the Board of Library Trustees.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for entertaining this proposed warrant article. I think you all have seen some of the, I know you have, and on the select board, the materials related to the history of this. And I hope that you've seen that. There was a strategic plan and community outreach and all that, let's say, over the last couple of years. So basically what the message tonight is, the Board of Trustees feels as though the time is right for us to have a study done to see what might be feasible, what might be possible at the library location in terms of how we anticipate the needs of the library to change over in the future. As you all know, it's no secret the library is much beloved in this town. It is a center of a lot of activities. And the library board proposed this warrant article because we think that there are needs and also opportunities to reconfigure, if you will, the library building without having to look at other properties or expand beyond the current footprint. You may, just a little footnote there, you may be aware that we have the current indoor building, but then there's the outdoor courtyard in the back that's not used for anything. There is a doorway, but it's not readily ADA accessible. And so that's an area that we consider might offer opportunities to, if construction is needed, that is an area. But the general idea is within that footprint, including the courtyard, there's a lot of space that could be better used. And one of the things that is also important, we think, is that there's space on the second floor that is not publicly available right now because it's not ADA compliant. And in fact, some library staff who may have mobility challenges can't get up there. So the general idea here is to have a consultant come in and do design concepts. We're not at the engineering stage. We're not at the finance stage. Give us some picture of what might be feasible within the library footprint. And we've identified a number of things that we want the consultant to consider. For example, a larger programming room, Because right now, we're sort of squeezed into one of the rooms and there's not really a setup for good audio visual. We don't have a committee meeting room that is available to committees in town. We don't have individual smaller work study rooms that would be available for tutoring of students, for people that work remotely. So there's just a number of things that we've identified that we'd like the consultant to give us a general picture. We call it design options. I'm not sure what's the right word. Perhaps you would supply a better word for it. It's under the idea of a master plan going forward. But by no means is this excluding any further consideration. We are trying to figure out what can be done with the physical building area itself. And once they come back with our hope is that, and the scope of work that's been drafted is with at least 3 design options that we could then have public proceedings. We would then consider the timing of any construction, if it was going to happen at all, financing, all those sorts of things. So this warrant article simply proposes that we hire a consultant for this kind of study, this preliminary study. The financing of this particular warrant article is 50-50. The library board of trustees will use its funds to pay for half of the consultant study, and we're asking the town to pay for the other half up to the amount of $30,000. If anything beyond that $30,000, the library board would pay for. So in other words, the maximum town exposure to perform this study would be $30,000. It's hard to say. We looked around and it's, very hard to ballpark what a study like this would cost. I think generally speaking, people think it'll be in the $60,000 to $90,000 range, but we simply just don't quite know. But the library board is willing to ensure that the maximum town exposure would be $30,000 for the study. I think that's pretty much encapsulates it. And
I would just mention that there's been a working group that's developed the scope for this study that was made up of 2 library trustees, a member of the select board, which was myself, Angus, our building commissioner, Sam Jocelyn, the library director, and then an abutter of the library, Valerie Gingrich, and also the chair of the historical commission.
Historic district.
Sorry, yeah, because that is the libraries in that district. So we've been meeting since July, I think, June maybe.
well, I think the first meeting was May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you have or what's in the packet is a request for qualifications that includes the scope and how we go about the process. So I think that's an important piece, that it's been kind of a larger effort than just library trustees.
Oh, absolutely. And it's been a very useful effort for people to sort of weigh in a bit. I would say that the only idea behind preparing the scope of work early was so that if the town agreed to the warrant article, then we would be positioned to go out sooner rather than later. So it's not anything, the request, the RFQ is not anything that would go before the town at this point. It's a reference for you to see what we would propose to send out to the consultant or ask the consultant to do. And you'll see there, it's the 3 design options and so on. And engaging the public and working with town staff and with the library board. And we have a couple members of the library board here and one on the remotely, and then Corinne, our library director, could not be here tonight, unfortunately.
But she is here.
But she's here remotely. and I'm pointing this way, it looks weird, but maybe I should point like that, and then it's the right way. Anyway, we're happy to answer questions. We appreciate all the work that Angus and Wendy and the others have done to sort of get the scope of work going, and we think it's been very useful input.
All right, I think we can all just chime in if we have questions. We don't have to do
Good,
select board
okay.
and FinCom, so
Okay.
maybe you guys might have more questions since you haven't been part of this today.
Well, when I read through the material, what kept striking me was, the possibility that if you do anything to this building, you're gonna run into the ADA situation. And I think everybody knows the cost of putting in an elevator into a building is probably prohibitive. And there was a couple things about utilizing the space better, maybe getting more people to come, but there's even like a threshold in there that if you exceed a certain amount of activity or traffic through there, that triggers the ADA as well.
Yeah, so that was really helpful having the building commissioner in this working group because he knew that those limits
Exactly.
hold, and so
Yeah,
he was able to advise us as to how to phrase it and how the work should be scoped so that we don't pass those thresholds.
Although I will say in terms of the current status of ADA compliance, we back in, I think it was probably 2020 at this point, we got a grant from the state to do a accessibility audit of every town building and facility. We even included outdoor open spaces in that. It was a very comprehensive scope. Stan and I worked closely on that. And the town got a really good bill of health in terms of accessibility. There were some issues, obviously. But the study included a punch list, a very detailed punch list broken down per property of anything that was non-compliant. And so for instance, you've probably seen changes in door handles, changes in more braille signs. We've been, Wayne did a lot of work on this. Brian's continued that work since he's been facilities manager. We've been working that punch list for 5 years. And so those areas that were non-compliant are largely, that's where, you see the push button door openers, all of that followed from that study we did. And it's been a while since I looked back at the library one, but my recollection is it got a really clean bill of health other than, as you said, the second floor. So, I mean, Dennis, I'm sure you're right that if there was a lift or an elevator as part of this, clearly probably that's going to pass the 30% design threshold to bring the whole facility into compliance. And that would be part of the study to help us understand what would be that full compliance. But I'm cautiously optimistic that other than the elevator, I think the building's really very accessible.
And believe it or not, there is in the current design of the building, there is an elevator shaft already.
It's not, remember, it's a dumbwaiter.
Oh, is it? When we
Remember,
decided it was a dump
We
waiter?
decided it was,
Oh, what a bummer.
yeah,
Okay.
that was a dumbwaiter.
So I think
Not big enough, yeah.
I think if it's okay if I just respond, I think you raised a good point, but I wouldn't assume the outcome. See, that's the issue here, and it's very much what Angus raised is, that's why we want this study done, to see, is it feasible within, whatever economics is involved, and how we would pay for it, and whether, because there are spaces in the library, especially the second floor, that are not used, that could be very useful in the future. And so we really just need to figure out what's feasible and what's not from not only an architectural point of view, but from a cost point of view. So I hear what you're saying, and we're going to be very interested in what the experts come back to us with in response to this RFQ.
To Fred's point, I think potentially putting an elevator, it's a big number, you're looking at $1 million probably. And it's still a whole lot cheaper than building additional square footage. You've got the footage, so to be able to access it for that number, the consultants will tell us that. That's not a bad return on investment at that point, potentially.
Well, one thing I'd point out, I mean, we have an elevator in our house, we didn't pay $1 million, but I understand that's a residential elevator, which may be a little bit different from what's needed here. But we don't need it. See how to say this. I don't think we'd ever put up an elevator through the middle of the building and have to destroy a lot of the building. We have outside walls that reach the second floor, so I think it's, from what little I know about elevators, having done one in a residence, you can attach it to the outside, if you will, and then just have it open in. But this is all the kind of thing that the experts would tell us.
I just don't want them to exclude that component from their study, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely not. No, it's critical because the historical archives are up on the second floor and nobody can access them. Because I mean, you can't have programs up there. You have limited access to certain individuals, but they're not open. It's not open to the general public. A lot of the historical archives.
It's not grandfathered at all. I go to the custom house in Newburyport and they don't have an elevator when everything's up on the second floor that plays and.
Municipal facilities are different.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know obviously I don't know the details there. There is a process for properties to petition to the state architectural access board. And I do know that they do sometimes grandfathers, but specifically in like historic districts or historic areas like Newburyport. I don't know what the story would be there as to whether it's grandfathered or whether they maybe sought some kind of waiver from the state, but that's not a municipal facility.
No.
No, municipal facilities.
Renovation's gonna trip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But again, we're not afraid of triggering ADA compliance. We think it's an important aspect going into the future. We just need to know what that entails and how much it would cost. And right now, we're all at least I'm just guessing.
I think we're all guessing. I don't think anyone knows.
I wouldn't presume to say that, but Angus, I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead, Roxy. No, so I read through all the materials, very complete and easy to understand. The part of it that I wonder is, I wonder if it just kind of started fresh. Just like, what would it cost? It would be an interesting thing for town residents to know if we were to spend this money, like the consultants doing this work, spend this money to do all the, whether it's compliance or expansion plan to the current footprint versus what would it cost to actually build a new building. And I know this sounds crazy, but I look at, Salisbury did it, Merrimack did it, and to me, to do all this work and not have that data, we'd be missing something. And maybe it's in here that I just didn't catch it, but to me, that would be an interesting aspect. And it's almost like wet finger work. You could, find out how much Merrimack costs, but I think that would be an interesting aspect of this, my personal opinion.
Well, it
Nice.
certainly, I prefer to just have the first bite at the apple, being what can we do with what we now have? And if it turns out to be impracticable for any reason, then the next step might be to look elsewhere. I think, I'm sorry,
are you running this meeting for?
no, I'll just sit down right here.
Bryn, go ahead.
Thanks. So I just wanted to say that the Mass Board of Library Commissioners does have cost information on new construction versus renovation for FY24. So I could provide you with that if you were interested. Additionally, a lot of the newer construction libraries were partially paid for with Mass Board of Library Commissioners grant funding, and that source of funding is unlikely to be as readily available in the future as it has been. They have not released a date for their next grant round and don't anticipate releasing a date anytime soon, which is a change from the past. So because of those two things, new construction may be something that is possibly cost prohibitive.
It'll also be challenging on a historic,
Right.
I think one of the things I'm wondering about is the parking situation. I think that's gonna really dictate, well, we can't, or why would we build a space for 100 people meeting room if we don't have parking for it? So that's gonna be an important thing for the consultant to look at. Ross, did you have a question?
Yeah. So I went and met with Corinne yesterday and I thought it was very value added. Yeah, seeing is believing. It makes a lot of sense when you look at the way that things are set up and you can kind of imagine how more modern library, the types of services and the types of spaces that a library, would benefit from more than, than rooms that would be used in the past. I think the one thing, I don't think that the intent of this is to talk about the wording of the RFP per se.
No.
No. But I think that kind of, it made me think of it when you talked about what a master plan might cost, and how it's kind of ambiguous picking a number. I think some of that ambiguity is probably as a result of, I think, it being a little bit broad, at least the concept right now to me seems broad. And so I just think conceptually to me, it would make sense to, or I guess, should we just have some basic parameters on this process that can help not only the consultant, but also the town kind of understand what the breadth of this product is, or this project is. In other words, would we say to the consultant, we'd like an option working within the existing footprint. We'd like an option working within, with an expansion of the horizontal footprint, and we'd like an option expanding the vertical footprint. Or whatever the logical groupings would be, but, because right now, I don't know if we're looking for 3 options with additions, or if we're looking for like gradations of a redesign. But other than that, I think it's something along these lines is necessary, and so, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we're limited expansion horizontally, because there's septic system, there's a leach field on one side, and setbacks and so forth. Although there is the outside courtyard that Fred mentioned, that potentially could be incorporated somehow. So, that's certainly something we can look at, in the scope of work.
Within the context of that whole comment, because I asked at the earlier meeting we had a couple of months ago, they did put this little matrix together about the cost. And just so voters and people, I'm gonna support the article, obviously. But just so they're aware, the cost is the low end, 3.36 million, on the high end up to 10 million. And the 10 million includes interior renovations and encompassing that courtyard space. So that's the general range that we have right now, because the numbers last time were a bit broader of a range.
So that 10 million case would be same footprint, just redoing the interior spaces.
First and second floors, including the courtyard and excluding the children's rooms.
So these are unit costs, so this is not like.
Right,
but it's
That's against you.
based on.
A lot closer than last time. I think we're talking like 80 million or somebody referenced one library project. So again, it's not staggered. It's a big number, but it's not unrealistic.
I guess my concern was from a funding perspective, if the town pays for the study and the library board as well. And then we get to a point where this project does cost $10 million, how are we going to pay for that? And are we just gonna fund a study that we can initially ever actually realize? So that's really where my concern comes in is.
Like what comes after.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And as well as the timeline as to when this would be potentially implemented.
The
And
construction or the study?
The construction.
Yeah.
The study is, I think, a great idea to do, just so we understand what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of opinions that aren't necessarily based on other than an opinion. So let's find out what's going on. But we also want to know not only the funding source, but also a timeline and what other competing projects the town will be looking at that.
Yeah.
So,
You know,
how do they imagine, are they parallel work streams or one before the other? And where does, the money's going?
that'll be the big discussion later on, because the town currently has no capital debt. Is that still correct, Angus? That's
No general fund debt, just
right,
water, but that is general debt.
right.
It's all pledged to be paid by the water, but it is the town it is the full faith and credit of the town that is
Right,
back.
but all I'm getting at is if we,
There is no general fund debt.
if we do Page and this at the same time, it's gonna be staggered, right? Yeah, so, and don't forget, Whittier's got a project we're looking at too. That we're, very insignificant.
Well, and on water, where there really is not a financial plan, realistic or otherwise, for how that's all gonna be paid for in terms of water mains. There's certainly no expectation the general fund would pay for that, but there may come a time that that's something the town's gonna need to look at, because there's, and that's a different conversation, but that's definitely,
It's on the list.
it's on the list.
Yeah, so just lining up all these potential buckets that we have to fill. Or potentially fill,
Huge buckets.
are, we gotta look at all of that, I think,
Prioritizing.
and prioritize and figure out where.
So if the town voted to not approve this expenditure on the town's behalf, would you still go forward with the study?
Would depend on what the library board wants to do. I think we've always approached it that, just to give you an example, we've paid, in the last 5 years, we've paid over $125,000 out of our own funds to do various upgrades to the library that we haven't even bothered the town about. So we have the ability to pay for certain things, but I don't have a sense of the board as to whether or not they would say, oh yeah, sure, no problem. I think we believe that we're willing to do our share, but because it is a town library and town residents use it so much, that it seems equitable to have some kind of cost sharing arrangement.
So that's another issue that would have to be figured out for the actual construction.
I think you just meant for the study, the 30,000.
But I'm saying beyond that, in
Oh.
terms of scheduling and.
Oh, you bet.
cost,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm gonna support the article for the 30,000 because I think it engages the conversation with the town. If you just have the library board do it, it's gonna be like a forced process, like we did the study, here it is, now help us fund it. That'd be dead on arrival. So I'd rather see the conversation started. If the town meeting wants to vote the 30, I think that's great. If they don't, then they'll figure out where they go from there. But without it, anytime a project fails going forward in town, it's because there hasn't been enough engagement of the residents. I think it's an inexpensive way to start that process.
Should I? You don't have to. I think
I just wanna also emphasize that, a modular and phased approach is also something that we're all willing to consider given.
For the actual construction, right?
Yeah, that's why we do a feasibility, right, to
Yeah.
get those options.
Anything else from the board? Dave, or do you have any other questions?
Make a motion to endorse the library facility needs assessment master plan. A sum of $30,000, temporary article number 6. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
I make a motion. I make a motion to support the library, building study funding of $30,000.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Great.
Great, before you leave, Fred, did you want to talk about sunset? Just to make sure,
June.
of 2027.
2 years.
Do you think that's enough? So the sunset date is, if the funds aren't spent by that, it kind of lapses back, so with June 30th of 2027. Wait, no, or 26, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong fiscal year, 26, so like. You know, there'd be like 20 months from the date of appropriation.
Is there a possibility of altering that? a
Yeah,
little bit
oh yeah.
To extend that,
For this guy.
only because we just don't know.
Right. Yeah,
We certainly would hope
well, what,
that this would occur, let's say, in the spring of next year, but if there's a hard deadline of
well, just to
July.
clarify, if the funds are under contract, that's fine. It's only anything that was, so let's say they said it June 30th, 2026. And let's say the appropriation was 30K. If some amount of that was not under contract in 20 months, it would lapse. So I, you know, the work doesn't need to be complete by then,
Okay,
so.
this is your area of expertise more
Let's
than,
make it 27, just so we don't have
Yeah.
to revisit.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to, once the project's done, if there's funds that are left over, they would lapse anyway. I don't think there would be, I mean,
I doubt it.
yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much. We really appreciate it.
Rationale and funding source too would be.
So it's in for, free cash is the proposed funding source. You know, that's obviously subject for discussion, but that's how it's penciled in for the scorecard.
I can do this rationale then, since we're like. That'd be nice.
All right, thanks.
Great, thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Yes. Thanks, Fred.
All right. Thinking of our next things.
My suggestion would be to skip over 3, just, I mean, I'm happy to speak to it, but it's not gonna be ready for a vote, so maybe come back to that at the end.
Okay,
Deal with everything that's ready for a vote, and then I provide an update on that.
about the free cash.
So yeah, the free cash transfer to reduce the tax rate, that's, penciled in for number 4.
You want to say anything about your memo or?
No, I think it kind of speaks
Yeah.
to it, so.
Did I understand from Tuesday that a rationale for the MBTA bylaw would be done by the planning board?
If the FinCom chooses to vote on it, then you would do your own rationale. They're offering a recommendation to town meeting.
Okay, that I wasn't.
Well, it is, they would, you know, I think that could go in the packet as well. I think if you guys vote on it, you would write your rationale. They, I think, would like to have a written statement in the booklet, which I think is not without precedent for zoning articles for planning board to do that. I think that would be appropriate.
I must have misunderstood because I thought that's what was decided.
We don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to vote on it. But if you choose to vote on it, you would want to tell.
We'll discuss that when we get
Yeah.
there then.
Sure.
The 270 on this, Angus, that's not inclusive of the Ash Street settlement?
It is,
Well, that's in there.
it is.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that wasn't on top of that.
No, that's inclusive.
Okay.
Yeah, so without that, we would be looking at a much more modest proposed
But it still
transfer.
keeps the rate pretty reasonable. Okay.
Mhm.
Does the FinCom fully wear on the Ash Street?
Probably not fully aware, especially the newer members.
You want to, no?
I'd have to.
Oh, I think before they vote, they should understand.
Sure, yeah, it's definitely a major contributor to why the amount is proposed where it is.
So you're saying otherwise it would be 100.
No. What are we going now? 210, 214?
Yeah,
So yeah, it'd be 60 grand.
All right, I didn't realize it was inclusive.
it is,
Okay,
yeah,
glad you asked that question.
yeah,
Yeah, because I didn't want to see that come out later and go, wait a minute, our free cash just fell through the floor, right?
yeah.
So do you want to give a 30-second update?
Okay. Many years ago, a property on Ash Street was bought and sold. At some point in time, through tax title, the town owned it. The town sold it. Problem was, the town never owned it. This is a previous administration. Nobody in town is even connected to it.
1970.
Yeah, let's put some dates out there.
And before 70, right? It was even before then.
It goes back to the 60s.
Transactions. So everybody in town had nothing to do with it, other than cleaning up the mess that was handed to us. All kinds of fun facts along the way. The person who owned the property passed, he got divorced. All kinds of people that were involved. We said, we're just gonna focus on making this person whole. We were told by the federal government, we don't own it. The tax titles were all done. And we can't argue it. We tried swapping a piece of land with them that the town might own. That's not possible. We had to come up with a settlement. Original number was very high. We ended up agreeing with the estate of the fellow who died to compensate him for the price of the land he paid, the tax he paid over the many years, and 8% interest cumulative. It comes out to, and legal fees, comes out to about $214,000. We did a friendly agreement with the courts. It was settled. We have a obligation to pay it. Town meeting doesn't even get to vote it. But the money's coming out of free cash. We want the residents just to be aware of this is how it happened.
Yeah, and so by including that in the amount, it basically holds the current year taxpayers harmless for all of that.
And that's a signed agreement, that's,
Oh, it's-
What, I've already signed up.
Yeah,
I've been paid.
yeah, the court approved it.
Yeah, originally we had contemplated having it be an article, but the attorneys told us that you can't do that because if town meeting votes no, you still have to pay it.
You're obligated.
Yeah.
You have no ability to.
Yeah.
We would have been doing a collection with cups and shakes.
Is the methodology for the 50th percentile to come up with that 2%, is that consistent every year? Is that how you do it?
So you're referring to the these tables here?
You know, in the write-up, you mentioned that, you know, it's 2% at the 50th percentile.
Yeah,
And that's historically what how you.
no, actually, that's just a coincidence, actually, that's 2.0%. There was no method behind that. These percentages, these are calculated by the assessor. I don't have anything to do with them. And one thing I always am curious about, I'm sure you guys are too, is why the percentage increases vary for different deciles.
Yeah.
And that's because, and when the assessor's in for the tax classification hearing, which could be as early as a week from today, but whenever he's in, he can give you a much more detailed technical reason, but basically there's the relative changes in property values are not uniform from top to bottom in terms of valuation. So if the market is, I mean, so here, for instance, you can see some of what's attributed to the estimated current year tax bill is the change in property values. So if, as the market goes up, the bottom couple of deciles might proportionally go up higher because of market conditions. So that is, there's not like it's not a linear progression on those percentages. So the fact that showing 2.00% is a coincidence.
But I thought it was part of the, you know, discussion that it's only 2%, so this makes it palatable.
But yeah, I mean, I typically look to this estimated typical increase, which is more of like an aggregated top to bottom. So I highlight the 50th percentile just because that is the median value home in FY26 is $837,650 is the median value home in the town of West Newbury.
But I mean, you know, 4 years ago, it was just like, oh, 400,000 sounds good. So this is like a very detailed and the objective is.
No, I like the analysis.
Yeah.
That's why I asked it. Was it, you know, consistent, or did we just decide to do this now?
I think the intention is to not increase the tax rate, right? If
Did
possible.
not increase the average tax bill
Over.
more than 2.5% is the typical objective each budget year.
And that's what this does.
Yeah, and if not for this Ash Street, you know, property, we actually, and if you look at the FY26 approved budget relative to FY25, I forget what it was. It was lower than 2.5%. I think it was like 2.08. It was just above 2%. So if not for that Ash Street settlement,
It would have been what the bottom table or plan.
no, this is without the free cash transfer.
So that's without the 270, but.
Yeah. But with the,
Ash.
correct.
Right, so
Yeah.
if you had taken out Ash Street, but done the trick.
Yeah, so actually I guess this is a really, I don't want to confuse things, and I don't know if it's worth making a point, but I think Chris or Wendy might have said the money from Ash Street came from free cash. That's actually not true. It effectively does, it hits free cash, but it can't come out of free cash because free cash has to be appropriated. It comes out of raise and appropriate because it was never appropriated. So you can't, yeah. So that's where that money is raised on our recap from the current FY 26 taxpayers, whether we like it or not. So if we don't transfer free cash to offset that, the FY 26 taxpayers are paying for the mistakes that were made in the 60s and early 70s and compounded by errors in the early 2000s when the property was put up for tax title. But just for the record, the town at that time did have a certification from the land court approving the taking of this land. And they were relying on it. So it's not like it was, I mean, we could have a 3-hour meeting just on this.
Yeah.
So, but I don't want people to get the impression that there was like,
It's actually a pretty reasonable settlement for a town.
Yeah, originally they were saying 500,000, right?
yeah.
I wasn't gonna mention that.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
But we presented methodology, like Chris said, it was the purchase price applied for 23 years of interest, and then each year's tax applied for, proportional amount of interest. So it was really intended to make them whole for the monies they paid in good faith to the town, for a property that ultimately they never had title to.
I think we ended up at the same place that if we'd have gone to court without an offer, he would have ended up with, it was very expeditious and, it worked out well.
Any other questions from FinCom? We lived this, so we don't have any questions, right?
I'm just curious, suppose we didn't have this 214 in there, would you have been looking for 60,000 on free cash to reduce the tax rate, or that could have been a huge number then?
A huge number.
We could have taken, if we didn't have the Ash Street, we
Yeah.
still the 270, the tax rate would go down.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as you know, the tax rate is a lot less important than the tax bill.
Right.
If the tax rate goes way down, but people's values go up 15%, like that's.
Well, that's what happened here, right? The tax rate went down, but the.
Oh, it happens all the time, yeah.
Motions?
Yeah. Where is it? I'll make a motion, support temporary article number 4, transfer $270,000, free cash to reduce the fiscal 25 tax rate.
26.
That's nice.
That's 25, that's what I'm going with. So what?
I saw that too, it said 25, but I think it was 27, is it?
Well, the article request from
It's 26. Says 26. Yeah.
Okay. Modify that to fiscal year 26.
No retroactive.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Did you?
Sorry, I think your motion to, if the book's saying that you're recommending it, you have to make a motion to give a positive recommendation. Are you doing positive recommendation?
Mhm.
So the finance books would say
Oh, it should say, sorry.
that has to be in the official motions
Instead of yours.
or support. Yeah.
So.
I
we
move
have
to transfer $270,000 free cash to reduce the fiscal 26 tax rate. That work?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I make a motion to transfer $270,000 out of free cash to offset the fiscal 26 tax rate.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Your rationale.
Up to the rationale.
I'm sorry, who?
Dennis.
Great, all right.
Number 7.
No sunset applies.
Correct.
Invasive species management funding.
So I'm the sponsor of this one. This is, basically intended to, enable the town to continue to work with the invasive species, contractor that we engaged through a RFP process a couple of years ago. But actually I do want to be specific or be clear. While the amount that is proposed is based on a vendor quote, this article, if approved, is not restricted to that vendor. One thing I've been working over the summer quite a bit with Butch and Paul. As people know, we've had a vacancy of the conservation agent for a few months. We did have a new agent start just this past Monday, a couple of days ago, but all summer that position would normally be kind of like a core member of these discussions. That position was vacant, and in the absence, Butch and Paul have been extremely helpful. We've had a lot of meetings, we've been sidewalks, and we see a lot of really good use for funding. And it may be kind of organized around the what this contractor has scoped out, but there's also other vendors who are licensed pesticide applicators, and as long as the work's getting done in accordance with the approved orders and conditions, this is how we're looking at this, as both property specific kind of invasive management efforts, but also if there's kind of some spot work that needs to be done here or there. One of the things about this vendor, he has done a really nice job. We're happy with the work he's done. But when he bid on the project 2.5 years ago, he was based in Byfield. He's since moved to the Berkshires, so he's not physically in this area very often. He's been here as often as we have needed him to be, but my point is it's not limiting to that specific vendor. It's for the stated purposes in the article request.
How much have we spent in previous years on this?
I think it was 20 the first year, right?
Yeah, I think last year we went up. Last year I think it was 50 that was appropriated. I think it was. I could grab my booklet.
In 2 articles, or was that just?
No, that was one article, because remember it was it was acknowledged that there's basically, this is really not a problem you can solve. This is a problem that you can strategically address in key locations. So for instance, one of the locations that we've identified in here as a priority is the so-called butterfly field, that middle part of Mill Pond. There's some black swallow work that's starting to impinge on that, which as I understand it is attractive to butterflies to eat, but also fatal to butterflies to eat. So it's this very perverse plant that the butterflies are attracted to, they eat it, and then they go die. So that's something that's like a huge problem, that we have not done any invasive treatment at the Mill Ponds butterfly field. So that's an area where getting tackling that, but it's like whack-a-mole. I mean, you could spend an unlimited amount of money and you're not ever going to solve the problem.
That leads to my next question, though. At some point, we're gonna have a program of how much and then roll it into their budget every year.
Yeah, that's what we'd like to do, and part of what you'll see in the scope that and I got the scope from him, and I thought it was pretty good to what we talked about and what we have been in some of the working meetings we've had. But this kind of final item, the townwide opportunity and priority planning, our goal at a staff level, myself, Butch and Paul, is to get to where there is a agreed kind of plan for townwide. Which of the properties are we going to try to address this? For what reasons? Is that for, because they're active recreation sites? Is that because there's trails? Is that because of I shouldn't say simply, but purely ecological and habitat reasons? Because right now there's a lot of voices in the community that want to see this done, but not necessarily for the same reasons. And that leads you to different sites that you would prioritize. So one of the things that is in the updated action plan for the open space and recreation plan, which was just submitted to the state last month and approved, is to get to where there's actually like a cohesive townwide plan so that we're strategic about this. I think personally, there's been some strategy to what's gone on to date. I feel personally very good about the funds that have been spent, but I think it is going to definitely warrant a broader conversation with a lot more people involved, because it has been largely the location selection over the last 4 or 5 years has been largely driven by kind of a core group of residents, which do represent a couple of or they're members, I should say, of different town committees, but it's not necessarily representative of, you know, a cohesive town position, so. It gets really complicated also because some of the lands that is under the select board's care and custody, and some of the lands under the ConCom's care and custody. And there's other lands that's under care and custody of Park and Rec and under care and custody of Water Commission. So the town is not one entity, it's actually multiple landowners.
So does the fact that the new agent has a pesticide license have any bearing on this? I mean, will he be able to take treatment, or are we still gonna contract?
I mean, he just started Monday, he's kind of drinking from the fire hose, so I certainly don't wanna.
No, I mean, long term.
Long term, I think it's a real opportunity, yeah, definitely. But in terms of this article, I mean, I haven't talked to him about it.
Does the 32,500 include anything about those summer interns that were kind of?
No, that was those are built into the operating budget at this point,
Okay.
the summer land stewards, there was $7,500 that was built into the fiscal 26 budget.
Okay.
So that's already baked into the cake in terms of the operating budget.
Got it, all right, thanks. So is knotweed ever comparable? Can you get rid of it? It's like everywhere.
No, but there's certain things, so this guy he's got a real expertise in knotweed, and Butch and I walked around River Road, River Bend area with him. You know, he's really strongly cautioned us about knotweed in proximity to town roads or public infrastructure can be really corrosive. You're probably more articulate on that than I am, but basically he's said, like, there's certain places where if you let it go unchecked, it will actually really damage your infrastructure in a serious way. So I don't think you can solve it, but there, again, it gets to strategic kind of targeted treatment to try to mitigate or minimize the damage.
Well, I pull them every year, so. It's tough, yeah, it's tough. It makes it worse?
There's actually,
So what's the treatment?
I don't know, I talked to this guy, so, yeah,
Yeah.
he's like the knotweed expert. So,
Really?
Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
cut it and then apply the
the pesticide.
pesticide to the
Yeah.
stem. And then it takes it down.
immediately,
So
like
pull it-
within
pull it out,
seconds
good
of
enough.
Now
cutting.
these pieces break off in the ground and then they just
Spreads.
new plant.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing Michelle Green, when she was our agent, she explained it to me once that if you cut it, all the like energy or biological energy that would normally go into the plant growing is now going into the root network.
Oh.
So it's still growing, it's just growing underground.
As you grow, Dennis.
It's spreading everywhere.
The other thing is that the pieces that you cut, you have to, there's very specific things that you can't put it in the landfill, it's not compostable, like you either have to burn it, like completely burn it up. Or there's other things you can do with like
Put it
tarps,
in a black
Yeah.
plastic bag for like
Sun.
2 months or
Right.
3 days.
but it's very durable outside of those two methods of destruction. So I think the other thing you can do is if you cut it like midsummer and then towards the end of summer when it flowers. You can then apply pesticide to the leaves, but you need to cut it first so that it's like new shoots that are close to the ground, about 6-8 feet in the air. But other than that, yeah, it's very difficult to get rid of. And if it's near a waterway, then you're limited to what you can apply to kill it, you know. I've got it on my property.
One of the things we've talked with this guy about is coming in to do a staff training with our public works, because I think they do a really good job. I mean, to the extent they can. But one thing he made me aware of, and Butch, is there was a pretty significant court case here in Massachusetts not long ago, maybe in the last year, where I think it was somewhere down in the South Coast area where there was a new home being built. The contractor who was building the house brought in fill that had knotweed in it. And that was knowable to the contractor. And the homeowner moved in. They ended up suing and getting very significant damages because this was imported onto their property. So he shared this case with me as essentially a caution that, like, if your public works guys don't know this, like if they were to inadvertently like cut it and like dispose of it and then it spreads, there's even a potential liability exposure. I don't want to overstate that because I don't know how real it is, but the point is, like, we're trying to go at this a number of ways. It's not just mapping and identification and treatment. It's also staff development and staff education. They just gotta get, try to be as, you can never use the word proactive because, we're ever so far behind on this, like everyone's in a reactive posture.
Any further questions from the select board? Any questions?
No, the whole knotweed discussion, interesting. I always call that stuff Jack of the Beanstalk. Because it grows so wild.
Operationally, if this funding is passed, this would be, at least in my conception of it, under the operational oversight of the highway superintendent. So he would ultimately be the one making the decisions about, who to contract with and for what scope and in what amount.
I didn't see any reference to poison ivy, which I think is another.
But it's not an invasive, that's a native.
Are you serious? Really? I thought we got it from the Brits somehow. It's a beautiful wreath if you braid it. Yeah. Looks so beautiful in the fall.
Crimson leaves.
The other thing that I noticed here is a discussion about ticks.
Yeah.
Our track that was very interesting. When I first moved here, I went for a walk in the trails at Mill Pond. Got attacked by ticks. Is that how it was planned?
Well, this is something that I keep saying, Brian Collar, this is something he brought up to us on one of our site walks is regard to with Action Cove and the playground. And that's kind of where we honed in on this idea that for the last couple of years, the whole thrust of this has been really habitat, ecology. There really hasn't been a more comprehensive discussion, at least not that me or current staff have been part of, as to other reasons like recreation areas, playgrounds, if there's certain things that are going to result in more mice or more ticks, that might be something to pay attention to in proximity to the playground. So we do want to get to where there's a cohesive approach to this. And I think, and I did, I put in the excerpt here from the open space and rec plan. I think that's something that is going to need to be a real focus of some of the town committees.
So that would be the kind of staff level would determine the priorities. I just see that as being a really unwieldy process.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a difficult process.
Yeah.
I mean, now that we have an agent, that is a huge help. That's been really difficult for 4 months to not have that position, where both Clay and Michelle before him were such for people. So I think, Dan Callahan is gonna be an excellent resource where he's been doing invasive management professionally for 10 years and managing, allocation programs. So.
Right, motion.
Motion to endorse temporary article number 7 to expend $32,500 for invasive species management.
Second.
Is that the language? Tell us what the language should be.
Technically, is the goal of this meeting, you're making recommendations?
That's what's gonna be in the FinCom book, right?
Yes, so your motion should be, I move to recommend blank, give a favorable or positive recommendation for blank, sorry, you have to say you're giving it a positive or a negative, because in the book it could say does not recommend.
Will you accept a friendly amendment? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You gonna vote?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion. I'll try my best. I move to spend $32,500 for invasive species management. Second. No?
No, because the voters in
Oh,
November.
I move to recommend. I move to recommend spending $32,500 for invasive species management. I'll second it. Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Thought you were gonna treat us to that one, Joe.
I do wanna just clarify one thing I just said to Wendy, it's not material, so it didn't affect anyone's vote, but in terms of, you mentioned, would it be staff level or would it be, it'll be a lot of stakeholders, but what we've talked about, what Paul and Bush and I have talked about is we want to arrive at where the custodial entity of different properties, which will differ depending on the property, at some point in the future are actually asked to endorse a management plan. So it's ultimate, so a lot of people will be involved in voices, but ultimately that authority is gonna rest with the custodial entity of specific properties.
Is that the rationale?
I'll do the rationale for them. And sunset date is,
I think I put it in there
Fiscal year
for
27.
FY27, I think was what I requested, yeah.
the new conservation agent, his name is Dan Callahan.
Dan Callahan,
And the funding source on this one
is free cash.
All right, the next item is the MBTA communities. Has FinCom decided if we're gonna vote on that?
Have we discussed it? Do you feel that that's a bylaw that we should be weighing in on?
I feel like the expertise of the planning folks might be a little bit more appropriate for this type of thing than anything we would have to offer.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to the meeting the other night. There's a lot of content in there that was over my head.
Yeah, the engineer really.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of protocols that got to follow, so I would defer to their expertise.
Yeah, I'm good either way, honestly. We did vote on it, at the last time meeting, just saying.
Because of the potential financial impact.
Correct.
I mean, that's a fair point, right? We could lose hundreds of thousands of dollars in grant funding.
Correct. That's kind of on the line if the
Yeah.
town doesn't pass it.
Yeah.
So, to me, that's a fairly significant financial impact.
Financial
If,
impact. Potentially.
if we vote no. If we vote no. Fine.
I would elect to have the planning board, sign on the rationale, so.
I was with you, except that point
It's a
there.
good point.
It does have a financial impact.
Do you think that the rationale is gonna be more
No.
compelling or the?
Oh, no, I mean, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Dennis or Angus, I think the planning board is gonna write something in the FinCom booklet to buttress their point. But the finance committee, in my opinion, should also.
So our rationale could be to avoid the cost, the negative cost implications if it just not approved, you know.
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
you guys could reference the planning board.
yeah.
in your recommendation.
Thought that they said they were gonna write a rationale, didn't somebody?
Well, they're gonna write a
That's
report.
It's a separate issue.
Yeah.
It's a recommendation. That's required under the zoning
Okay.
laws.
Correct.
Write a recommendation, but
Yeah,
it's
so-
actually a select board article. It's not sponsored by the planning board,
Okay,
FYI.
so to Chris's point, will they actually, I mean, are
It's
they?
not gonna be the rationale.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be like one of the excerpt or appendix.
Got it. Okay.
So maybe we should weigh in and say we recommend that you accept this because of the potential negative implications if you don't.
Is that a motion?
I mean, that's viable. I mean, that could be a significant amount.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? I mean,
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands.
Yes, I think we.
We just received a grant for $475,000 that we wouldn't be eligible for. We're not.
Say we vote on it,
Okay.
just for that rationale that I shared.
For that piece of it,
That
yeah.
piece of it.
Yeah.
Jim's gonna write the rationale.
I'm not gonna time, I mean.
Got us into this mess. Yeah, do you have a motion?
I gotta channel my inner, I recommend, for the voter, for the, taking up the article in general.
I move to recommend.
Yeah,
Article,
Recommend approval.
I move to recommend approval of the, MBTA Communities Act.
As
as, yeah, as written or as suggested by the board or the select board, if that's the right way to say it.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Well, that was fast, okay.
Then, I'm gonna, all opposed? Or, okay, 4-1.
All right, do we need a motion from the select board?
Yeah. I move that we support the MBTA communities bylaw as presented.
You recommend approval.
Yeah, with the modification of the wording. With the prior discussion tonight. We're gonna check in with state if we can say a minimum law, if not, then just really.
Second.
Right, any further discussion? All in favor? Fine.
Who's right direction or that?
Jim, did you? I can do it, certainly. But I would like to, I mean, I wonder, should Gary write an opposing view or anything like that? I mean, is that kosher?
The only time I've ever seen that is when there's either a split vote,
Right.
where like, cause there have been times there's been an odd, even number of people on the FinCom. Or I think there was one time where it was like a 3-2 vote. It's your booklet, so it's however you wanna handle it.
I think with one, you probably don't need a dissent.
Okay.
Do you oppose to the bylaw itself or the process of voting on it as a FinCom?
I'm opposed to the bylaw.
Okay.
I think it's absurd. I mean, my parents bought a house here in 1977, and I've lived in worked here since. And I've never seen anybody get on a Viva bus. I didn't even know there was a Viva stop in town.
It's new.
And the fact that we're included in this is, well, absurd.
I've said from the beginning, I said it at our meeting, I feel it's extortion from the state, they're withholding funds from you if you don't do what they want you to otherwise do.
Well, the governor is outraged that the federal government is threatening to withhold funds from her if she doesn't follow certain laws, and she's so outraged that she's doing exactly the same thing to small communities that are incapable of fighting back.
But this
Why
bylaw,
isn't she principled?
the bylaw, I'm not going to that one, politics. The bylaw, the way it's written for this parcel, I think this parcel is exceptional in how it dovetails in, it accomplishes the legal logistical component, and if the town, if the housing authority did want to build, you could.
I agree the location's the right spot. I think you've made lemonade out of lemons.
Maybe
I think the whole thing is just insane.
I know, but if the town doesn't vote it, you're gonna lose
I understand.
a lot of money.
I understand.
That's the only
I
thing I
had
do.
a majority of the luxury of voting.
Take your point.
And there's obviously no sunset date.
Correct.
Yeah. And no funding source.
And you're gonna focus it on the financial aspect.
Yeah, and probably take a little bit of Angus to brain on that one, what's that?
I mean, what you said verbally, like, I think said, like, it could be a one sentence rationale.
That's what you need.
You know, if the town falls out of compliance, the town stands to lose, $100,000 of state funds.
All right, next one is the special
Yeah.
events permits.
Yeah.
This is a bylaw, as well, right?
It is.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you don't want to vote on this one, Tom?
I didn't think we needed to.
Yep.
Did anybody else have a thought on that? No. No, okay.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on the select board? Did you want to explain why this is?
Yeah, so I guess, I know we've discussed this a lot previously, and in the first round or, document I've given you had some references to a private, property in there, and all of that had been removed. So you guys have all been provided with the revised special event bylaw. Pretty much this came to be, because to have special events and to issue permits and have a process, it has to be in a bylaw. So I just took what we've been doing and kind of made it a little bit more formal, and then just made the bylaw to go with it so we can actually enforce it. And in the future, collect fees.
So we've been doing it without the bylaw.
The issue is enforcement. The issue is if there was ever an instance where someone was like, I'm gonna have my road race. I don't need your second approval.
That's the same with.
Without a bylaw, you can't enforce it. So the fact you've been doing it, people who've been voluntarily complying, there's no harm, no foul. But in the instance that they thumbed their nose at you, you really would have had a problem.
Okay. We need discussion?
Yeah, it didn't totally eliminate, private property, because it does talk about it on the definitions.
Oh, under definition, hold on, I thought
What page?
is that not the newest?
Page 1,
Yeah, if it requires public services to go along with it, right?
no, it's a special event, any planned gathering, celebration, performance, race, or activity, public or private, that occur on public property or impacts the ordinary use of public streets and sidewalks.
I'm sorry, I can get you revised, everywhere else it was removed, I apologize. It should just say public.
Well, but if it's a private event on public property,
Well, or
Oh, yeah, public or private.
on public property is one thing, but it's
Yeah.
also talking private.
Where?
If you, it's like theoretical, if somebody was parking cars on the street.
oh, is it this last sentence that you're saying, this special events?
Yeah, the whole paragraph is basically saying, if you have an event on private property, but you impact the street or the sidewalks, you've got to file.
No, I think that's old, maybe you have an old version, because it says it's
Right on the board.
that occurs on public property or impacts the ordinary use of public streets, sidewalks, parks, fields, or activities. Oh, yeah, no, sorry, that completely has to get taken out, I apologize.
Another one I didn't get, section 8, item B. In the case of protected free speech activity, such cost recovery shall be in accordance with applicable law. I have no idea what that is.
So. Section 8B, you said, under obligation of town services?
The
Yes,
last sentence of the paragraph.
Okay, so I have looked at a handful of other different bylaws that go along with this, and I took out a bunch of other sections that other places had about, what was it, exceptions to permit requirements. A lot of places had much more robust sections about peaceful demonstrations and civil demonstrations and protests and stuff like that, and that was something that was recommended to be in there. If it's something you don't want to totally be
I don't
Take
really
that,
understand it, what it's saying.
trying to go either, but a lot of, it went with a lot of the things like that.
I think it's just a qualifier on the fact that the event organizer would have to reimburse the town. If it's a protected free
Oh, yeah.
speech, then you have to do it in accordance with whatever laws protect free speech.
Yes, because the free speech kind of trumps, like people can go down and do some sort of protest there. And
So if someone was doing a protest, the police were needed there, but there might be a scenario in which they don't have to.
get a special, and that's what it is, like, if a big event happens and there's a big issue and over the week, people decide to organize and do a peaceful demonstration, but you've got 75 people that show up in the courtyard, you're not gonna force them to have a special permit. So
I think this is if there is a permit, the obligation of town services. So, I mean, are you okay with it or don't you want to?
I can't be okay with it, because I don't understand what it's actually trying to tell.
Well, we also just, I know I said this, early in the meeting, but, you're meeting again a week from tonight. So if there's any, question you wanna have this back before you in a week, that's fine.
All right.
If that is gonna be the case, let's just make sure we get all the questions on the table so we can.
Yes, section 9, it talks about the application documents, but they're not attached.
you guys approved, those, a few weeks ago, a month ago, that was the event rules and conditions.
Okay.
That we went over pretty extensively, and I removed all references, tried to
So
throw
it's
down.
attached to this packet when it goes to town meeting.
Yes, it will be in the, well,
Well, I wouldn't put it in the
No.
booklet because the regs are under the select board's authority.
using.
I mean, you might,
Yeah.
you can tell people what's in them, but you don't wanna,
Put them in the.
It's already on.
Appendix.
well, but they're subject to change because the bylaw needs a town meeting vote. The regulations would be the select board's authority, so I wouldn't want to muddy the water, because if you put that into the booklet, people might think that that can't change, but it can, the regs can change.
Or if they don't like a couple items in here, they might not vote for the bylaw and they don't have necessary. Or
Anything else, Chris?
No.
Okay. Do you want to wait on this?
You understand that?
I do.
Comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole point is recovering costs because of the special event. And all it's saying is if it's a free speech related event, then you have to follow any applicable law protecting free speech, so you may not be able to get all of your costs back. It's just saying we have to follow the laws.
it was run by KP Law too, so.
Okay,
All right. Are we ready to vote then?
make the motion first.
Do we have Ross make the motion?
Sure.
Are you going?
You know, Rusty had this.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I move to favorably recommend.
Ooh, check that out.
Ooh, I like Russ. You should be parliamentarian.
I'll just stop right there. Article number 10, currently number 10, the bylaw for special events.
Second. Any further discussion?
Oh, sorry, I should have said as amended per the dialogue that we just had, right? Was there a couple?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yes, to remove any private.
References to
Yeah.
private.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So there's only two others that, I don't know if you're, oh yeah, you have to. I assume you want to vote on MGL to authorize setting fees.
I think we went on it.
So Amanda, do you want to get a burn on this?
Sure, I can give a little brief update or background on this. I'm not sure if you received some of the background information about setting municipal fees and charges. I pulled this from the Department of Revenue website. And it kind of goes over the process of how a municipality is able to legally set fees. And one of the ways that they can do that is rather than making every single fee go into a bylaw is adoption of Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 22F. And that, my summary is currently any changes to local fees, even administrative, often require a vote of the legislative body, but this would give departments with select board approval the ability to set and revise fees that more accurately reflect the cost of providing services, reduce dependency on general tax revenue, and respond more efficiently to operational needs. So following acceptance, the select board would adopt a formal fee setting policy so that boards and committees can't just change the fees whenever they want. They would adopt fee schedules and have them approved by the select board. Any changes would have to go before the select board and
It's for all boards and committees, like the Board of Health, Planning Board,
every fee that's being charged in the town,
really?
Park and Rec.
They might not like that.
everything. Unless it's in their bylaw. If they have a bylaw that states all of their fee schedule, then they're good. But if they don't have a bylaw, then we need to have 22F. Can't be a policy. Any fee has to be voted on by the legislative body.
It could potentially be a lot.
So we really should get on that.
No.
This is a quick, easy way. A lot of, some places don't have this, in a lot of places like Amesbury, Linfield, anytime we'd have to do a whole fee schedule, just to learn two things. Either pass by council or pass to town meeting. This would be good.
Inspectional services too, or they different? Well, so you could have a no pond, Parks and Rec, inspectional,
Special permits.
theoretically, but Board of Health, if they ever implemented I mean, you could go.
Just making sure we're doing it.
What's the current situation here now, that they have to go to town meeting, right?
No, they just do it.
Change?
No, they just do it.
They just do it.
Like ConCom.
They're
has
supposed
different
to.
fees. Yeah,
Maybe.
it's just something I've not paid attention to.
It's just sometimes you get a new face comes in,
Yeah.
and you pick up, fun stuff. Right.
So what about, like, if there's a fee stated in a bylaw, like for the animal protection, or the animal.
That's
control?
good. We
So
can
we-
legally charge for that.
Okay, so we don't have to change, or we can't change that, okay. All right, any option?
Well, I mean, I'll make an anecdote. I mean, like 15 years ago or so, when I was at Parks and Recreation, we had our summer rec program, which I know is still ongoing. I mean, yeah, that, like, we set fees and we kind of set fees kind of based on, yeah, so you're saying now we wouldn't, with this new bylaw, if it's passed, we would have needed to go to the select board in order to get kind of approval for those fees. Is that kind of how that
So,
works?
so anytime you wanna charge a fee for anything, whether it's a summer camp or a dog license or anything. It has to, that fee needs to be approved by the legislative body, so in a city, the mayor would give that to the city council and they vote on if the fees increase. In a town, it would be a town meeting. And that would be worked into the bylaw, so if it's a hunting permits. That those fees would be in that hunting bylaw. If the fees are not in the bylaw, you can pass. It would just be an MGL acceptance, so it's not a bylaw, you're just accepting this, which says that we don't have to put our fees in bylaws, we don't have to. Put 50 warrant articles on and make it a big arduous process, we can just have department heads set their fees. Periodically with the select board, and they would have the authority instead of town meeting. It also allows you to keep fees current. A lot of communities do fee studies. And they reach out to, like, there's community, like, places that do them for you. Or a lot of town clerks will send emails to other town clerks, and we have spreadsheets of all different fees, so you see what other communities are charging. And if you see that you're charging $5 for something that every other place is charging 15 for, I mean, wait to go to town meeting or have the select board let you kind of get things more current.
So if this was adopted, did I hear you say a couple of minutes ago, the select board could authorize other entities to set fees? So for instance, could the select board vote to authorize Park and Rec to set fees for its field use and summer program as it always has done?
They'd have to get it, so they could decide what their fees are, but then they'd bring them to the board at a meeting for formal approval.
Okay, that's not really popular.
Could the
So they
select
could
board?
submit a bylaw, submit a bylaw for them.
Could the select board actually delegate that responsibility to the town manager?
He looks thrilled with that.
How would that help?
You need a public meeting vote for it to go into effect. So unless they.
I'm thinking burn truck, every fee in town.
I mean, I'm just thinking it's gonna be an incredible amount of detail.
One of the department heads would just.
I mean, you wouldn't see if you saw something
Like once a
insane.
year.
Yeah,
right?
it almost be like committee appointments, you get a list at the beginning and you go,
Right.
boom.
That's what we did up in my last job. That was a council form of government, but under their ordinances, by October 31st of every year, the council would review and update the fee ordinance. And so we brought it forward every year, whether there were changes or not changes. It was something they voted every October.
Can't wait to see this list.
Well, but so every department, so my office, we have a fee schedule, it's very small and there's way more things that we could add that would be very great. You would just ask department heads, send an email, hi, can you send us your fee schedule, what you charge for in your office currently, and then we would just bring it to you at a meeting. Just
Well, but it's
like-
gonna get into the issue of the other elected boards.
Handle the majority of them, like easy for us, and then.
Okay. What do we think?
Make a motion, we can vote on that. Looking for it, Austin, I make a recommendation.
Positive or negative?
That's general law, chapter 40, section 22F, setting fees as a policy.
Second.
All right, what's the discussion?
I guess what I was latching onto maybe was this language in the summary that says acceptance would give departments with select board approval the ability to set and revise fees. So my question is that a one-time vote that the select board can authorize, for instance, the Park and Rec Commission to set fees, or is that something that every time Park and Rec Commission is updating its fees, that has to come back to the board?
Yes, that's what it would be, anytime updates, changes are made.
So I guess the consequence, as I understand it, is when Amanda brought this forward, a little while back. It was news to me as well, and I was a little shaken by it, because as I understand the consequences of doing nothing and continuing to do what we're doing, is that you're saying it's not legally enforceable. So Park and Rec, even though it's, charging fees for summer rec program, you're saying that that's not
think-
authorized by a bylaw.
I think the dog bylaw had fees in it.
There are some, but
There were
I'm
like three.
focused on the
Yeah.
ones that don't.
Yeah,
Like Harbor has, animal, there's a couple of bylaws that I'm aware of have fees, but many of the fees that are charged, including building permit fees, there's not a bylaw.
So somebody could refuse to pay.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
it's right on here.
Well, but I haven't talked to town council about it.
So, but town council's reviewed this, right?
Well, it's just accepting an NGL. It's not.
It also says department, so, I mean, that's a pretty specific word. So would it apply to other boards?
Are you looking at this summary, or are you looking at
I'm sorry, that's summary.
Yeah, so the DOR, this is kind of the official guidance from the department. So this says that fees and charges for issuing a permit license certificate of approval may be set by the municipal board or officer that issues the license or permit. So I would read that to mean Park and Rec, which is issuing, for instance, the allowance to use fields. I would read this to say they would have the authority to set those fees. They're the ones who are setting up the summer rec program, overseeing the program, promoting the program, collecting the fees. So that's, I mean, my feeling is we should adopt the MGL. I think the operational impact is something we just need to do what we need to do.
Okay. I think it would be important to have
Yeah.
these questions answered before town meeting.
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
All right, I'm fine with that. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who was the motion in a second?
Chris,
Motion.
Great.
did you second?
Okay, thank you.
FinCom, what do you think?
When I read it, I thought it was far more efficient than going to town meeting and having all these things approved. But just doing it the way we're doing it is the easier way. So,
But now-
It's not compliant.
cleaning it up is probably the right.
What's that environment?
So, anybody have a motion? Well, I move to favorably recommend acceptance of Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 22F, authorizing setting fees.
Second.
All in favor?
Clean up.
You're the rational. Okay, thanks.
All right, what about this last one, the street acceptance? Are you gonna vote on that?
I don't.
Who was doing the rationale? I don't know.
Hey,
Brian.
Brian, no sunset or funding source on this.
Correct.
Any financial impact of street acceptance?
It's just one more road to plow
Maintain.
and maintain. Yeah.
So no.
That's great, right? Right, different conclusions. Gary wants to go home.
The Prospect Street. Discussions.
That doesn't matter how they plow Prospect Street anymore. It's just, it's a patchwork of magic.
I don't feel a need to wait on this. Anybody have a strong feeling about it?
All right,
No, feel fine one way or the other.
I'll make a motion to support the street acceptance of Major Boyd Drive.
we favorably recommend.
Yes, exactly what I said.
All right,
Second.
all right, any further discussion on this? We've already talk about this a little bit during meetings.
No, did it come back from, land one of that?
Yeah, they gave a favorable recommendation. I think that was in the packet, yeah. It was just a minor, just a quick email from the town planner, but yeah,
Oh, great.
they voted 4-0 to favorable recommend.
Right, all in favor? Aye. All right, do you want to update on Church and Prospect, or should we just wait till there's a conclusion? I think we spent quite a bit of time at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah, I guess just a brief update is,
Maybe the implication of the articles, maybe that's more.
I'm sorry?
Maybe the implication of our potential warrant articles is more relevant than the whole sad story.
Oh, yeah, no, I wasn't gonna go into the whole sad
Let
story.
me just ask one question about that. As far as like the process for change orders, how long has that been in place? The current process for doing that on things like this? Is
Well, it's really set out in Mass General Law.
right, but that's always the way we've always used the process for.
Well, there's
change.
not one we.
Well, I mean, when I say we, I mean the town, and I
There's not
understand
one.
there's different, I understand there's different departments and things like that, but, all right, so. In theory. All components of the town. Should put together an order in the same manner, right? There's a process that all individual, whether elected or appointed board should follow to change these things.
Yeah, because
And-
it's not policy.
And it's been in place, it's not new.
No.
Okay, that's the only clarification I need.
The Water Commission will meet next Wednesday, and they will vote their recommendation at that time. And, so we expect the select board at their meeting a week from tonight will have, some action requested of the, yeah, don't know what that will be.
So okay, I was wondering about these two different amounts in the two articles, and just now see that it's updated in red.
Yeah, it's like $105 difference.
Okay.
Basically, Jenny's number is correct, and
So it's 162,043.
no, it's 161,939. Yeah, no, it's 161,939. There was within. Yeah, within the, all of the focus on the police contract is to do with the Tate and Howard contract. And, there were, two components of that. There was a resident engineer and a construction administration. And they had, gotten the Water Commission approval late in the fiscal year to move some money from this bucket to that bucket within their contract, with a net reduction of about $105. So that reduced the overall project cost by $105. Didn't quite offset the overage. But so that's why there's a discrepancy of $105. The lower number is the correct number,
Okay,
but that's something the water department.
As we go forward on this, though, you're looking at a net change on the entire contract, and I think that's not
Yes.
the appropriate way to look at this.
Yeah.
Because each line item has its merits or its deficiencies. And the credits, like the police were only used so much, so that's a hard, unarguable one. The only line item we should be looking at in the context of a change order is 19A, the permanent trench pavement to the town. And that is an overage of $215,000. That's the problem. So it's much greater because you've offset it with these credits. We're entitled to those credits back.
Mhm.
They can't pack them into the change order that way. It's a, I don't want
I
to
see
use a
your
legal
point.
word, but it's not an appropriate way to do it. So it reduces.
it looks better, or it looks
Yeah.
less bad.
It looks like that.
It improves the optics.
Exactly, but it's a big number too.
Oh, you're right.
So I don't wanna hear about the other lines, because yes, we're entitled to the credit on this, we're entitled to that, they're entitled, they added 2 more hydrants, they're entitled to those numbers. Those are all hard and fast. The only one we have to be discussing is that one line item. Well, no, the water department. I think they're being diverted looking at shiny objects and should focus more on the real issue.
So what are the implications of approving the free cash? Loan
We get into that discussion today?
I don't know, I'm just having trouble wrapping my head around this.
Well, my comment I made it to Angus privately was if. It's kind of strange that. The town has spent so much time unraveling their issue. And now they're expecting a loan from the town. To solve their problem. So if the town endorses that, I think a component of whatever that number is. Has to include lost income of interest that the town is, if the town takes 100 and whatever thousand, 200,000, says here, you have it until you can. Appropriately bond it or whatever, the town, we have money invested, whatever that lost income should be. Should also be a cost that is compensated back to the town.
So you're saying, Chris, we should vote on the 215,000?
I don't know what the number's gonna be,
Actually grinding money out of the same people, just out of a different bucket. I mean, it's like residential paying.
no, it's called responsibility as well.
Well, I have no question of who's responsible, for it, but I mean, residents are gonna pay for it either way. You're gonna charge our residents interest,
Yeah,
loaning their own.
it's money that, I don't use town water. So that money comes out of an account that would have benefited me.
If your house catches on fire, they didn't use town water to put it out, so.
But not all residents would, I mean, that's the argument that we hear, you know.
But to the question, I didn't hear who did so, who was that, I think, you did answer to it, you were saying, no, because you've already raised the contract, the estimated contract price, so even though the overage is on that one line item. You wouldn't need to raise 200 more, I wouldn't think you would only need to raise, because of the credits.
Because of the credits.
Yeah, does that sound right, Angus?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of problems. I mean, the first, and I thought this through also is. Change order one is actually not a change order because it's a net zero. It's a
contract, it's a scope change.
contract
Contract,
modifications without authorization.
that is what it should have, yes.
And so
Or-
it's invalid. So
Yes.
they have to recalculate based on contractual obligations, the cost, not on their modified expectations. So again, this is not a town issue, it's a water department issue, but if we're gonna have to discuss it on upfront the money, I think should be as responsible as possible.
This may be premature, but do they understand the correct procedure moving forward?
I do not think so.
This type of thing, so it wouldn't happen again?
I'm not touching that question.
I think the newest water commissioner does,
Okay.
that's not the entire decision-making entity,
Fair enough.
yeah. So what are the other options if we vote, if we don't vote to loan the money?
Mhm.
Then,
So if the, let's say the water commission voted to authorize a certain amount, whether it's this amount or some other amount. But the town couldn't cut a check without your vote to advance the funds. If you didn't vote to advance the funds, the soonest that we could cut a check would be if town meeting appropriates from retained earnings the funds, at which point if town meeting appropriated that, we could then cut a check for the amount. If town meeting didn't appropriate it, either because they voted down or because it ends up coming off the warrant or something like that. And the water commission approves an amount, my office and the finance department have no choice but to borrow that money. We have the borrowing authorization to do that, going back to several years ago when this project was authorized. But that would obviously be I mean, it is what it is, but the towns don't typically borrow that kind of money. It's just a lot of overhead for, but that's what we would do. We would have to pay whatever bill the water commission authorizes to pay that's within the borrowing limit.
so this wouldn't even come to town meeting unless the select board voted not to advance the money.
No, it would definitely need to come to town meeting because in order for them to pay it from retained earnings.
That's what I'm saying, so the select board first has the choice of whether to float the money,
Right,
and if we vote favorably on that, then they still.
it still has to be
pay.
appropriated to pay back the town.
Yeah.
The period of time though, just to Chris's earlier point about lost earnings on investments. Let's say the select board voted to advance the money. Let's say that happened a week from tonight, which is soonest theoretical time it would happen. The check would be part of the following week's warrant. So that goes to like the 22nd of October. If town meeting appropriates it on the 3rd of November, the town gets paid back on the 5th of November. So you're talking about 2 weeks, just so, I mean.
But then you factor in legal costs.
No, oh, that's a whole different conversation. That's a whole different
Well, the
conversation.
indirect costs next year have to.
I totally agree with that, but in terms of the earnings and investments specifically, that's.
Okay, we can forego that if it's that duration. I still am not confident they have their ducks in a row enough to take this to town meeting, because they don't know what the number's gonna be yet.
I don't disagree
So
with
how do
that.
you? If
And they're
we,
not even here, I mean,
right,
no,
you know, if we
Well, they
authorize,
haven't voted a position.
Yeah.
I'm not
I
saying
mean,
that.
it could meet more frequently than once a month, right? There's a lot on the line here.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I had specifically requested they meet this week.
I posted an agenda for them today.
Yeah, for
For
next.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I've been
I know.
pushing for them to meet this week, so we would have had their recommendation by tonight, but.
so if nothing changes and they decide to move forward and say they're gonna pay this contractor $162,000 round number.
Mhm.
And the select board says, no, they have to fund it out of retained earnings, and then town meeting votes that.
Correct.
Why aren't we just looking at that?
This ball started rolling, a while ago.
That they have the funds in retained earnings.
Yeah, yeah, you could forego
I'm
that.
wondering why we have to front the money so they can then turn around and spend
You
it
don't
back.
have to do anything.
Well,
Yeah.
no, why the request is here, I guess.
Well, again, this ball started rolling in early August because Jenny and I saw the invoice come in and panicked because the debt's already been issued. And we reached out to our financial advisor, we reached out to the Department of Revenue, and that's where this whole advance of funds in
So
anticipation
that's
of borrowing.
one of the
So
options.
we just started that ball rolling in the first week of August. There's been, as you know, an enormous amount of time and effort since that time. So no, you don't need to do that.
I'm not even sure what being asked.
Well, I do think let's say the Water Commission authorizes the payment.
Yeah.
The contractor will get paid. It's just a matter of when. So at that point, what?
And what to ultimately, hopefully.
Well, right, it would be the amount the Water Commission votes. They will get paid whatever the Water Commission votes. It's just a matter of how many hoops we have to go through to actually cut the check.
But it gets muddy because if the water commission votes it and they have the retained earnings, they should pay it. They shouldn't be turning around to us and say, they want us the money.
And
That's where it gets
I
muddy.
think that would be a totally defensible position for you to take, and to take that step out of it, the advance of funds, take that step out of it.
I just don't know why we're caught in the middle. It doesn't even
You
seem.
don't have to be. I mean,
It was just one of the options to deal with this problem, so,
But the number one best option is to pay bill yourself.
yeah, I agree.
Was it earlier, was the intent to expedite?
yeah, I mean, if
But now it's like we're on.
right now the delta between, the board, I mean, when we started that ball rolling,
It's August, right?
yeah, I mean, the Water Commission met in August. They could have voted something then. They met on September 9th. They could have voted something then. So now that we're talking about a delta of 2 to 3 weeks between your advance and a town meeting vote, Chris, you raise a really good point. I think it becomes silly to do that advance.
Yeah.
But when Jenny and I started looking into like, what are our options as a finance department when we're presented with a bill that we had no knowledge was coming and there is no change order to support it, what are our options? So we started doing a lot of research because this kind of was dropped in our lap and it was unprecedented. I've
You've
never
done a
seen
lot of work
before.
on it since August when you found out.
This is the request that I put together to town council, and this board's seen this, and they know this took many dozens of hours. And we've had multiple meetings with town council, including earlier today, one earlier this week. I mean, this has taken hundreds of hours from me and Jenny since it first landed on my desk on July 31st. Hundreds of hours to the expense of everything else we're trying to do in this town. We will never get that time back.
Angus, if we don't vote tonight in the water
But you're not asking to vote, you're not voting anything tonight.
But I'm wondering if we're thinking of, if we're considering saying no, shouldn't the water board know that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's really material at this point because it's such a short window between when you would be authorizing the advance and town meeting. But yeah, we would let them know
If we
that.
voted no tonight and then next week they took it up and they voted no, then what would happen?
But, well, if they vote no on, if they say we're not gonna pay a dime above the contractual amount, which has already been paid. I mean, I don't know.
I think it's sued.
We will get sued, like that is, he said it, not me, but that is exactly what would happen. I'm not saying that to influence any votes at all, that's just, that is what would happen. We would likely, I mean, there'd be
But
a
then-
whole series of lawsuits.
It would almost be like the onus would fall back on us to do the right thing. That's why I wonder if tonight we shouldn't be taking the position that we want to take so that the onus is on them to do what they're supposed to do next week.
If they vote it and you, let's say you vote tonight, even though it's really not before you technically, this advance of funds, that request is not before you, although I believe it is, the paperwork is in here, so it's part of your packet, it's part of what was posted on the web. But let's say you took a position that you are not going to approve an advance of funds in anticipation of borrowing. And that was, I would obviously communicate that to the Water Commission. In that instance, if they vote an amount, it then goes straight to town meeting. Assuming you put the warrant article on, because you still control the warrant. If they voted, I would ask that you do that, because if you don't, Jenny and I have no other choice but to go to market and borrow the money, which is fine.
I think that's a better process, is let them go to town meeting to take care of the retained earnings.
I think as you were talking it through, I think you're right, and I mean, when we started that conversation with DOR, it was like August 1st, I mean, we did it like the day this came in, we started scrambling of like, how do we pay this bill?
And by the way, you said, if you don't pay it, you will get sued. The town will get sued, the water department will get sued.
The water.
Correct,
We don't have any contractual deal with this company. This is the water
Correct.
department.
that's
I'm
correct,
just making it clear what
yeah,
the faults in this problem are.
I don't disagree,
So we don't have a formal request from the water department to loan them the money,
no.
so there's nothing to vote on, right?
No, the paperwork that's in here is what Jenny
Yeah,
prepared
Yeah.
to help them out.
all right.
Is it a warrant article though that has the church prospect?
That, the warrant article is a different thing than this advance of funds.
But they're gonna have to get us a warrant article to.
Well, there's a warrant article request,
That could be associated with them paying it out of their own retained earnings.
well, that's exactly, yeah.
So the advance is not really part of what I'm saying.
I mean, I'm seeing multiple errors on it, Daniel's not meeting, but this is what we got.
Yeah, all right, so it seems clear that we're not in favor of fronting the money, is that accurate, even though we're not voting?
No, I'm more in favor of them paying it out of retained earnings.
Well, they would have to either way, even if we front the money or we don't, we still have to pay our return.
I think they should go to town meeting and request it out of retained earnings. I don't, why we're caught in the middle of this.
I know. So I'm just confirming that that's our.
That's my stance.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any value added in us.
Yeah.
Voting them.
And comment, any issues with that?
I don't personally.
I agree with what you said, great point. You don't need to be involved in it, they can take care of it.
Especially since it's like a 2 week,
They should.
Yeah.
time period.
I can see the light it.
All right, does that conclude oh, no,
But we have to vote on these things formally, no, or don't we?
we don't have a number, right?
Well, for the article, we don't have a number,
Right,
right,
so you have to wait to vote on that.
correct, yeah.
Okay.
So does that mean another meeting?
Yeah, because it's gonna.
One thing we have on tonight's agenda is to discuss, date for the joint meeting, so,
So we could vote that night as the first item?
as long as you could vote that night, and if it's before October 20th, your recommendations would be in the booklet. If it's after October 20th, it would simply be that the recommendation would be presented on the floor of town meeting, which you certainly can do. We don't usually, but you certainly can.
All right, so what is FinCom's availability for this? joint
I mean,
meeting with this.
I'll throw it out there, it's up to everybody else, of course, but even just 1 week from today, right, because the.
That's a regular
Yeah.
board meeting,
Yeah.
that works for you guys, and then.
For
Right,
me, it works, and we work, yeah.
what time would you prefer? We can work our agenda around what time, so. You guys.
5:36 would be good for me.
Flexible.
So we're gonna take 6?
We'll go with that too. Yeah. That's
You
fine.
prefer 5:30?
I would, yeah,
5:30 is fine.
5:30.
Right,
That can be the same meeting to incorporate, Casey and.
Yeah.
Rest of it.
The only caveat I would say, Tim can't be there next week.
okay,
And I did talk to Casey, late this afternoon and, she.
would have to be remote.
Yes. Good.
So. Should we reconsider then? Tim Zesson, who's our town council, can't be there on the 16th.
At all, not even remotely, I guess.
No.
No, it's just not his birthday.
She'll have another small day.
So select board, how do you feel about another meeting?
Technically, you could take your recommendations, you don't have to be in the same meeting, so at the next. Select board meeting on Thursday, if you guys want to make your recommendation, and if you guys had a finance committee in the next few days or a week.
We still have a joint meeting with the moderator and.
Yeah, after, but if you were just worried about this one motion.
No, it's not that. It's
How far is
about-
Casey out of the loop, and when is she available?
Well, so the only reason in my outreach to her, I had suggested next week because I know in the past she has felt strongly that she feels this joint meeting should happen before the warrant is posted. It doesn't,
Then you have nothing to talk about, right?
it doesn't have to, it can happen after the warrant's posted because typically the real focus of the meeting is the motion, it's not the article language. The article language is not a joint decision, that's the select board's warrant. So the joint meeting could be, anytime between now and November 3rd.
Would it be at our meeting on the 30th?
If that works for people, it's up to you. I mean, I don't, it's up to you. I don't think it's too close. Because,
Oh, that's, yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
I forgot that was on the calendar.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need, if you guys wanna meet without me, or I suppose I can call in.
I don't think it's necessary. I'm hoping we'll be able to vote next week on outstanding articles. Does that 30th work for you all?
You guys remember that I'm not at the country starting the 30th, right?
No, I forgot.
And I'm not in the, I won't be there for the 3rd. But. Yeah, Chair won't be there.
All right, do we want to just have another meeting? Okay, what works for you guys?
We talked about the 16th or the 15th?
16th is problematic with town council and Casey.
Okay, so that's
What about the 20th? That's one of your deadlines for getting done.
that's when the book needs to be done.
No?
So it needs to be before
just one note to the board, we are in the use or lose it month, and I am gonna have a very hard time taking 4 days off before the end of October. So,
All right, so what works for you then?
well, I don't have anything on my calendar on the 20th. I know I'm gonna be
Okay.
working that weekend to finish the booklet, so if I can take that day off, it would be a bummer to just,
How about the 21st? Are you planning to be here the 21st?
21st, I'm at an all-day What's New in Municipal Law seminar in Waltham. But I might be, I mean, I could be back, I could be back that night.
I came to the 21st tonight.
All right. I don't know how to resolve this. Jim, do you want to pick a date?
22nd, maybe, is that?
I mean, my recommendation would be that you go with the 16th. If there's any legal questions, you refer those to counsel and he can respond, and he will probably respond the next day. You know,
right.
typically if he's present, that's great, but I think we all agree, having been to these meetings, there's rarely substantive legal questions directed at him.
All right.
And he reviews them anyways, right?
Yeah, he reviews the warrant, he reviews the motions.
Okay.
So that would be my advice, if everyone else is free.
I'm cool with
All right,
that.
all right.
You're gonna be here the 16th, right?
I will, yeah.
All right, so we will start the joint meeting at 5:30,
Great.
right?
That's it.
Okay.
So this is gonna include KC and include
No, that's a 30.
No, the 16th.
16th.
Yeah,
so-
yeah, she may need to be remote, but she's in town.
So we start the business by voting the article and remaining articles. And then we go into the, kind of, set the stage for town meeting.
I got a technical question. Do I need to submit an agenda or that'll get taken care of when you submit your
No,
agenda?
that'll need to be posted, so I can put together a draft agenda. It'll need to be
joint
posted by Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah. So, or
Our
on
agenda was
Tuesday,
before that, So.
Okay.
we use the same.
yeah, but we'll use the same language, so I can put that together.
All right. Anything else, Ron?
Thank you. Motion to adjourn was in.
Second. All in favor?
Vote.
Thank you, folks. You guys previously voted 5 different articles, they were all 5-0 votes, there was nothing there, it was.
Yeah,
Simple, straightforward.
Very straightforward, pretty quick, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Well,
Thank you very much.
See you next Thursday. We came prepared.
I was remote, I was driving through the mountains of Vermont. It was. You say when you wanted the rationales.
By the 15th.
By 15.
Yeah.
And send them to me.
Good work. Nice to meet you.
All right, so what do we want?
See you guys there.
The rest of the budget.
Good night.
Do you wanna do the rest of the articles that we didn't do yet? Let's. 8 o'clock, or do you wanna table those and then?
I do, get through it.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't, I looked, I don't have a whole lot of issue with any of it, some silly questions, no issues.
All right, so the first one is,
Number 2.
budget amendments, FY 26 budget amendments. Anything on that one? What was the BCC access database? What does that mean?
Well, I can explain.
Sure.
So there's a woman named Lisa Pagano, and she's very famous in the town clerk world. She does a lot of our trainings. She offers them for municipal employees on Excel, on Access, on everything. She teaches a lot of courses for us, and she also builds her own databases specifically for clerks. If you had to buy the technology, it would be like $50,000. She creates, in Linfield, I have her dog access database, which is very helpful, her poll worker database, and she has a boards, committees, and commission database, and it's $2,500. And it's a one-time fee, and it's $500, I believe, for 3 years, and that's it. We're already working with her. She is actually already almost done.
So what will the database do? Just of the
So-
members and?
So what it does will take care of so much of the administrative work related to appointed boards and committees. So she has our entire spreadsheet right now, database of every body that we have, every public body, every board member, what their title is, when they were first appointed, if they've ever been reappointed, when they've taken their oaths, when they got re-sworn in. I had to send her letterhead, I had to send her appointment letters, different things like that. And so when someone new gets appointed, we enter their information in, it auto-populates letters, emails, stores all of the board, committee, commission information in a really easy spot. And all of us will have access to it.
So is it just on membership of the boards and committees?
But everything related to the appointment process.
Yeah,
the very
that's what I mean,
part,
it's-
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's for boards, committees, and commissions.
And then the website conversion was about $5,000. Is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Any other questions?
Comment, I see the health insurance, land use changes. And at some point, I hope we'll be looking at what's the state plan, GIC or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
In the past.
we have conversations several times a year at a staff level. We have but as I tell you every time, you're talking negotiating unions, you're talking setting up an insurance advisory committee, if you wanna. If you want my office to stop doing some of what we're doing, to put in the time to do that, I need you to tell me that, because we are doing the best we can, and we can't do that on top of everything else, or we already would have.
Not expecting it to get done immediately, I'm just.
I know, but just for your edification, it's something I talk about with staff, and they talk with Caitlin and Jenny several times a year, and we don't start a new insurance advisory committee, including retirees, staff, unions, because that implicates a couple of hundred hours a year that I don't want to start something I can't finish. So, you know, if it gets to where we're not dealing with all these massive things, that's great, but right now, it's just.
Okay, any other questions on this one? Ross, can I have a motion?
Yes. I move to favorably recommend the proposed fiscal year 26 budget amendments.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we did the free cash, Page School, MSBA Consulting Services. Any questions on that one?
Not questions, just they're broken into two different proposals, so. Be clear on that, right?
So one is 15 and the other's 75. Right,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, motion to favorably support the Page School MSBA consultant. He said recommend for the sum of 22,500.
Second.
All right, any discussion on this one?
I just know in the spreadsheet, it goes back to, you know, I put this together a while back, the MSBA consulting, it does also include the capital projects, yeah, so I'll change that. You know, that obviously in the booklet it's gonna be clear, but just to point out on this spreadsheet, I noticed that tonight, so. In reality, based on how well the meeting went with our counterparts in Nantucket about 2 weeks ago, we might not need much help, but it sure will be nice to have a budget to hit if we do need ENAP's help.
All right, all in favor?
Thanks.
Okay. Unpaid prior year bills.
No, the power option, I get that, the bill was sent to the wrong party, that's fine. The whole police legal sciences. They reduced it by $960 or whatever, I just don't understand the numbers in here, I hope somebody else does.
I don't know how many times I have told you Jenny would not be at tonight's meeting, and that if there were questions like that, to please send them so that I could have gotten them to her. I've known for a month she wouldn't be here tonight, she wasn't here today. I don't have those answers, Jenny could have provided it, but
All right, so it's $160.
maybe table that for a week.
I assume Jenny had already looked at it, right?
Of course, she's looked at all of it.
I don't have a problem, I was just asking questions.
Yeah, so it's the delta, the original grant amount was $960. And it was reduced. And the details are attached there. All right, so are you comfortable voting or you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we follow up with it later. All right, Ross, motion? I'm pushing you a little bit.
I know. Move to favorably recommend, article number 8, unpaid prior year bills. The amount of $5,690.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next one is amend the finance committee bylaw. Are we okay with that one? Or any comments or questions on that? Mm-hmm.
I move to favorably recommend article number 11, the amended finance committee bylaw.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and then rescind the CIC bylaw. Any comments, questions?
You much have to do that if you're going on.
Yeah, we should that on first, I guess. No. Right, motion?
Must have run the roll.
Okay.
Plus this one has sentimental value. I move to favorably recommend the rescindment or
Rescission.
rescission.
Is that the right word?
Yeah, it
Rescission?
No, you would recommend the article,
The article
because the
language.
article
Okay,
is to rescind it,
Alright.
so you're just recommending this article go on warrant.
Okay,
Favorable recommendation on this article.
okay. I move to favorably recommend article number 12, rescind CIC bylaw.
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Just during discussion, I mean, you made a really good point, someone did about the order of the articles. I don't think there'd be any procedural problem of combining this so that it's a single article to amend these sections of the bylaws for, part of that amendment would be the repeal of the other. But that might make a lot more sense because
Yeah.
it really is one issue.
Right,
And obviously throughout this process, it's been listed as two different things. But until you sign and post the warrant, you have not signed and posted the warrant.
mhm.
So if it made sense,
I think it makes sense.
I think it makes sense.
Basic objections, all right.
Well, I think it's, you can have a single article that amends multiple sections of the bylaw. That happens routinely. So,
It would be problematic in passing that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So should we take a different vote then?
Well, I think if you end up, you voted, or once you vote, if you,
We did
you end up,
vote.
right, you didn't vote this one yet, but
We
you.
did, and then you said for discussion.
Oh.
It's just a little.
I didn't hear
I'm
that.
tired.
I didn't hear the vote, so, assuming both votes were 3-0, I think the spirit of it is if the direction you give is prepared as a single article, then a week from tonight, when you're asked to actually approve the warrant itself,
Mhm.
you
Okay.
can just write it that way,
I think that makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
Okay, good. All right, do you wanna reach out to, we're done, right?
Yeah, we're done, let me, text Tim.
All right, so 5 minute recess, that'd be appropriate.
That'll be great.